All right, here we are for another night of Return of WADJEDI. Peace, blessings, love, gratitude. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to arrive in case anybody is joining me live this evening. It's Father's Day, and so if you're all good sons and daughters, you will be with your dad. But if you have already finished that part of your day and you're in tune with a little bit of knowledge, I will be grateful for you to join me here. So bear with me. Let me make sure that I have everything. I hope I got the mic all connected. I just want to make sure that I am good to go, that everybody can hear me just fine. All right. Do a little bit of test here. Let me move this up a little bit so I can there we go, right up there. All right. Keep it right around there somewhere. Okay, so here we are. There. Okay, so just to jump straight on in, I am Raven, aka Fly Priestess. You can find me on Instagram at fly_priestess, and I am on Facebook at Hemet Netert Raven Tutankwajет, and I will write that in the comments for you all once I'm finished with everything here. This is Return of WADJEDI, and this is episode 14. So this is part of a series that we are doing on spiritual anatomy. It's part of a greater series. So discussing the chakras is just a series inside of a series. So with episode 13, we launched off the chakra series. And so every week we're going to spend some time diving into at least one of the chakras. And most likely we'll be going into one chakra every couple of weeks because there is a lot to know and there's a lot to cover about these unbelievable spiritual organs. So let's get into it. So last week I was sharing about the because serpent power, the place where serpent power originates is in the tailbone at the base of the spine. And that is where our root center is located. So when we are rooted, when we are grounded, when our survival needs are met, when we feel good about ourselves, when we have a self-identity that is comfortable, that is solid, that is safe, and that is free, that is a healthy root chakra. And so I spoke about the different ways that serpent power moves through the body, but the most important thing to understand about the serpent power is that it moves through that area. So it moves through that place first. So if we are not properly rooted, if we are not grounded, if we didn't come from a childhood, a background, or if we've had life experiences that have led to us not feeling grounded and rooted, then we are likely to experience a great deal of difficulty with serpent power rising. And this is why it's important to understand spiritual anatomy. It is a great thing, and we could dive in and start talking about serpent power, and we could connect with serpent power and get all about it. But if you don't understand spiritual anatomy and the greater whole of what spiritual anatomy is, what is spiritual anatomy? We know about our body parts. We know we have a liver. Do you know where your liver is? Because everybody doesn't know where their liver is. Do you know where your pancreas is? Gallbladder? How long your intestines are? A lot of times we're not even aware of our physical body and where everything is located. We just know it's all in there somewhere. And if something goes wrong with it, we'll go to the doctor and we'll ask them about it and they'll work it out. Or if we're as natural as we think we are, we'll go to a herbalist or something, to a naturopath, or we'll get some herbs and we'll put the herbs on top of it. And a lot of times people are using herbs in the same way that they're using allopathic or Western medicine. They just find out something's wrong, find a herb that fix it, put the herb on it, and then it's over and done. And that is not actually, oh, hey, oh, thank you, Cisco. that is not actually the way to healing. Herbal medicine is not meant to work in the same way as allopathic medicine. You don't just find out something is wrong and then you go ahead and just throw something on top of it and throw some pills on top of it just because they're herbs instead of pharmaceutical pills. It's we need to change the way we address medicine. The way we do medicine needs to change. But that isn't even where I was going with all this. That was just a side note, of which I have many. But so when we have issues going on in our body and we want to fix those issues, so we need to work through what's going on. We need to get to the root cause. We need to get to the root of the issue, and then we need to find out what's happening on the ground level, and then healing goes up from there. So if the root is shaken, if the root is damaged, that means the serpent power energy that can heal us, without herbs, that can heal us without alkaline water, that can heal us without pharmaceutical drugs, that can heal us without pins, needles, without all kinds of stuff. We have tools with our movement and our breath that can heal anything. Once, not anything. Let me take that back. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Let me throw that out there. We have, but we can heal a lot of things. We can heal a lot of things just with our body, our movements, and our breath. And once we know the tools of how to do those things, then we are empowered to be able to do them. So we can reach inside and stop going to doctors, stop asking somebody outside of us to save us. We don't need external saviors anymore once we have the serpent power raised up within. That is what all of the great spiritual teachers and leaders and everything have always presented. You have the power within you. Your healing is in you. And the reason is because we each come imbued. We each come with this serpent power energy. We come with this chi, this life force, this kundalini, whatever system, religious, spiritual system that you call it. We have an energy inside of us that is a life force, and that life force flows through us. It's not just some force, like one big ball of force. It has roots, and it has a flow, and it has a movement. It has patterns that have been studied and written down and explained and taught and passed down. And once we start to understand how these energies move through our spiritual anatomy, we can take better advantage of this, and we can empower ourselves to heal ourselves. And not just heal physical ailments, but we're talking about emotional issues too. We're talking about abundance blocks. We're talking about issues of burnout, about when we're trying to reach that highest spiritual alchemy. So the serpent power is there for the whole ride. It's there to reach to every point. So last week we jumped in and we spoke about the root. We spoke about the spine. We spoke about the parts of the body that are connected to the root chakra. So just for a quick refresher, or in case you have not seen episode 13, but I suggest that go back and check it out, especially if you are new to the chakras, or you have a rudimentary understanding of chakras and you'd like to know more. Episode 13 is your jam. So root chakra, hair, skin, nails, blood, bones, all of those things, the things that are deep, the things that have that depth to them, those are root things. The root center of the body, the root chakra, is located in the tailbone, and it extends as far as the perineum in men, that point in between the genitals and the anus, and in women, it extends to the cervix. So the cervix itself, although the sex organs are considered to be second chakra, sacral chakra, the root chakra actually reaches to a woman's cervix. So just keep that in mind. And as I said, there are many other little tidbits and details and little things that we may have mislearned about the chakras as we went along, or through the years, or depending on who is talking about them. And so it's worth going back and refreshing ourselves on the spiritual anatomy. So this root center, how does it get uprooted? What happens? So I have had a very long and interesting life, and with a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of damage and a lot of healing. And so I'm going to share some things about how my root chakra was damaged. And then if you can relate to some of these things, then you can understand it's good to relate our spiritual anatomy to the things that happen to us so we can understand, well, why do I behave like this in my adulthood? The doctor said I need to go on Prozac. Do you need Prozac, or do you have a damaged root chakra? What's really at the heart of the issue? And again, do not construe anything I say for medical advice, but this is about knowledge. This is about empowering yourself with knowledge so that you can see the entire being that is you, not just the physical being, not just the spiritual being. You can see the whole entire package, and you can best decide what kind of things that you need to put in you that work for you. So, root chakra, damage. So, the kind of things that cause damage to the root chakra are a life, say, for example, you have endured physical abuse in your childhood. If you have experienced sexual abuse in your childhood, and again, especially with when we're talking about girls, remembering now that the root chakra extends to the cervix in women, sexual assault during childhood is a severe way to break the to completely close the root chakra, completely close it up. And you and many women who experience this spend their entire lives struggling. They go through, because your root, a damaged root causes your whole system to shut down because the energy flows from there. So if your root is not solid, everything else, all of the other life force that's trying to flow through you can't flow. So what happens if life force is trying to flow through you? What do you do? And this is how people get closed heart. This is why they struggle to find relationships that feel happy and fulfilling to them. Sometimes they have a closed sacral, solar plexus, and so they can't have sexual encounters that are fulfilling. They can't make connections to other people, friendships that feel balanced and safe. All of these things, everything starts from the root. The energy starts from there and curls out from there and opens up from there. So if the root is damaged, a lot of adult issues that we experience, a lot of things that we are renaming other things based on things that society is telling us or that the government is telling us to call them, are actually our own spiritual bodies that have been damaged and are begging, crying out, expressing symptoms to us so that we can repair them. So if you've had sexual abuse, physical abuse in your childhood, if you moved from place to place, for example, people who were in the military and were raised as children, raised and you live in one place for a while, you make some friends there, you start to get your understanding of the social flow, you feel cool with your friends, everything is going good, and then boom, up. Now your parents just moved you to a whole new military base. Now, bam, you have to start over from scratch. Now you have to find your place in the pecking order. You have to figure out the social rules of this new group. You have to understand who you are, how you fit in, what everybody's doing. Do you want to fit in? And if you do this repeatedly, this causes damage to the root chakra because it takes away the sensation of safety. It takes away the sensation of knowing where you fit within your tribe. That's like a natural desire that all of us have, is to be safe within the tribe, within our family, within our community, of however small or extended that may be. And so moving constantly, or if you, even if you, it wasn't a military type of situation where you had to move, if you had to, if your parents moved home often, if people in a with low income or financial challenges and move out once a year, when the lease is up, bam, time to move again. Lease is up, time to move again. If you go through that and you have to shift, or somebody picked up or came to another country looking for economic opportunities, so you spent your life growing up in one place, and you know the culture, you know the language, you know the flow of the place where you're from, and then boom, you get up and you have to move, and now you even if you just moved one time and you move to an entirely new surroundings that are completely different than the surroundings that you have been attuned to all your life, and you have to reattune yourself into a new place, that is damaging to the root chakra. Let's say your parents got divorced, let's say somewhere in your childhood, and very especially while we're talking about chakras, the chakras go through cycles of elevation. So each year, each solar cycle is a cycle of opening and awareness and awakening of the chakra. So if anything that happens up to age 7, and then again anything that happens up to age 14, these are the two cycles at which we're normally at home. So they're at home with our families, with our families of origin, and even sometimes up to 21 is common. So 7, 14, 21. So that's 3 cycles that of each chakra gets 3 cycles at home with your family of origin. During those 3 cycles, if any kind of damage takes place during those 3 cycles, if that damage is not addressed and healed and with compassion and love and understanding, then those issues, that damage, can stay locked into your spiritual field, into the toroidal field that is your aura. It can stay locked into your chakras, into hills around you. It can stay locked into different places in your cells. And until it becomes unlocked and the knot becomes untied and released, those things will stay with you, and they will guide your choices in life. They will guide your attitude and your perspective about life, and they will change things. And sometimes these things happen whether we are aware of them or not. So sometimes we are being guided by trauma that is locked in our field, and we think we're the one at the wheel making the decisions, and meanwhile it's that wheel down there, that spinning wheel, that root chakra, that is the one making the decision. So let's get clear with those, all of those types of things. So the loss of a parent, if a parent passes away while you're a child, I mean, of course, these things happen at any time, and I'm talking specifically about childhood traumas and how they get locked into the chakras. Because in just a second, I'm going to explain a little bit about the anatomy of the root chakra and how it looks during the developmental phase, which is different than how it looks in an adult. So you go through these things. When I was a child, I had a whole series of events that all took place, and also again, so besides the loss of a parent, so you can lose a parent to death, you can lose a parent to divorce, you can lose a parent by if you've been given up for adoption and you either have never met your biological parents, or you know your biological parents, but they never raised you or took care of you. Maybe you met them as an adult. That is the loss of a parent, because the natural order, the natural flow of things is for us to be reared by the people who created us. And so anytime, whether we intellectualize the process, whether we make the process normal because it's happening to other people, no matter what we do with our minds, our spirit beings have and our physical bodies have for thousands and thousands and thousands of years worked in this way. We are biologically designed to be born and to be raised by our family of origin and by the family who created us. So anytime it's not that, there is a sense of loss. There is a loss that gets locked into the field. So, and no matter how loving anybody else is who took the place of those people, the loss itself is locked into your field. So that will affect your root chakra. And there is a lot of times people feel guilty about addressing the fact that they don't want to accept that there's any sense of loss there, because let's say you were raised by a family who took really wonderful care of you. Let's say, for example, someone was adopted and the family who adopted you took amazing care of you. They treated you exactly like their own. You got the unbelievable love. You had a happy, healthy, safe, normal childhood with them, the best that a person could hope for. And so you don't want to dishonor that family who took care of you by admitting that there's a sense of loss somewhere inside of you. Some people do, but there are people who don't want to admit that. It feels guilty, or it feels like a betrayal to this family who cared for you even when they didn't have to. And so we lock that pain away. But best believe, no matter what is locked away, it will stay there, and it will express itself into our field. It will express itself into our auric field. It will express itself into our body somewhere, and it will seek expression. Emotions, all emotions seek expression, all of them. That is why it's called emotions. So we experience any of these things: the loss of a parent, divorce, the death, and moving to new places, or the loss of a friend, having been bullied at school, being bullied and not treated the same, by teachers or by classmates. All of these different types of things, they can all lock issues into our root chakra. So Why? How? What's the mechanism? What's the mechanism by which these things are getting locked into the root chakra? So, as the root chakra is developing, and I'm going to add here quickly, the root chakra is not actually the first chakra. It's not. This is another myth. This is a linear society myth. So we think that one's down there, that one's up there. So straight line must mean it goes from down there to up there, and that's it. No, that's not actually accurate. The first organ you have, and for a reason, the first gland organ that you have inside of you when you are being created, when you begin to exist in a physical body, is a heart. So the heart is actually the first chakra. That's the first chakra that develops. And then it goes in a spiral and goes down and up and around. And the root chakra is not the first one, but we're choosing the root chakra to talk about because as you develop outside of the womb, the root is the place where the safety develops. So the heart is first because the heart makes a connection to your mother or to whoever your primary caregiver is. And then the root is the one that is filled by the heart. So the root gets filled up. The root gets the sense of safety, of security, of belonging. And when you have a healthy development by parents who and a community of people of family members who wanted you, who value your existence, and who treat you as such, then you develop a sense of identity. You develop a sense of safety. You feel comfortable asking for things that you need. And these are all of the aspects of when somebody has a healthy root chakra. Being breastfed and have the breastfeeding is an extremely important. And when we get to the heart chakra, we're going to talk more about that. But since I brought up the fact that the heart is actually the first chakra, the heart between the mother and child make this bond. They actually send the mother's heart sends sonar out to the child and is able to pick up. That's why a mother's breast milk is able to change quality and texture based on the baby's needs. It's a sonar actually going out, picking up. So our heart beats sonar through our whole body, sends a message out to every cell, basically saying like, hey, how you doing? You guys good? You okay? And any cell, all the cells answer back, hey, I'm good. Oh, I'm a bit of a mess. Oh, I need this. And then the heart receives back all of that information, sends that information to the brain, and then the brain is the secretary. The brain is, okay, all right, well, send this hormone there, send that there, tense up this, move this muscle, and it sends out the information so that all of the readout that it got from the heart, that it can act on that. But all of those things originate with the brain. With the heart. The brain is secondary. And so the first mind is actually in the heart. But anyhow, we're jumping ahead. We're getting way ahead of our root chakra here. But because the heart is first, the heart, when a baby is breastfed, that heart sonar that makes a bond. It makes a bond every single time the woman feeds her baby, and that bond sends a sense of safety. So when a woman breastfeeds a baby, when a baby needs, just like later in life, when you're able to ask for the things you need and know that your needs are going to be met, think about it at the physiological level. When a baby is breastfeeding and the mother's heart sonar is connecting with the baby and saying, and now her body is producing milk with a certain texture and a certain level of nutrients in it because that's what the baby needs. Think about the depth of what it means to have your needs met. So at the level of breastfeeding. So breastfeeding is a very, very, very powerful root chakra healer. It makes it whole. And this is one of the most important ways, this bonding between a mother and a baby. And absolutely, if something happened in your maternity experience and your motherhood experience where you were not able to feed your baby, or you fed your baby for less time than you wanted to, or you didn't know about these things, don't feel ashamed. Life is a process, and life is about learning. But if you are having a baby in the future, and blessings, thank you for being here. So if you in the future are intending to have children, and just remember how powerful that the healing that you can give, the amazing level of development. So you're not just helping your body your baby's body physically by getting the right amount of nutrients, but you are actually setting your child up to have a healthy root chakra just by breastfeeding, just the act of breastfeeding alone. So ideally, because each chakra gets 1 year, one full solar cycle, you would want to breastfeed a baby for the first year, because that first year is going to let the baby feel, experience, like not know and think and all of that sort of stuff, but experientially know that my needs are being met. So then think about that versus when a baby gets formula. Formula doesn't change. Formula has one formula. It's one thing, one way. So if the baby has certain nutritional needs in the morning that are different than his nutritional needs at night, or if the baby's nutritional needs are different in the summer than in the winter, that formula is still exactly the same. So there's no time of day that it changes. There's no, like, it's exactly the same. So on a cellular biological level, what's happening here is the baby is already being told that your needs are not fully being met. Like, I know you need a little more nutrition today, but this is the formula. Bam, got one formula for everything. One size fits all. So this is all you're going to get. And it's already at the cellular level telling the child. So what do you think this is doing to the root? This is already setting up the root for and a baby that's raised, in a healthy way, in any other way, of course, it's not going to, come out like severely damaged just because they had, baby formula. But it's each thing, when all of the things together begin to add up. All of the ways that we aren't served, that we aren't loved, that we aren't made safe, that we aren't our needs are not met in our childhood, very especially in that first year of life. Those are all the things that will harm and damage the root, and then for the first 7 years of life. So uh, so we go right from birth. So birth needs that skin to skin contact, because what is skin? Skin is root chakra. So skin contact, touching the hair, all physical contact, all of those things are root. So being held, being hugged, being fed with a nutrient, with a divine intelligence, not being fed divine intelligence rather than being fed something out of a laboratory or a factory. All of these things are beginning the process of developing the healthy root chakra. When two parents care about each other and they express love and understanding and gratitude and compassion with one another, so that energy is what's filling up the space, so that when they connect and they're around each other, and whether the couple, starting with the couple who created the child, but then any other family members were in the home, siblings, parents of the parents, so the grandparents, everyone who is in the home is connected in a sense of loving and kindness and togetherness, these type of things. So this is our ideal perfect circumstance that almost nobody gets anymore, which is so terribly unfortunate. It's crazy how wrong we are living, because there are many ways to do right. People argue, oh, right and wrong, that's not right, I'm right. There are so many ways to do right, but the only way that we know that we're doing wrong is when we come out underdeveloped, when we come out with our hearts damaged, when we come out feeling less than, and when we're not loved, like that something has gone wrong for that type of circumstance, because that's not our nature. Our spirit nature is abundance and flow and joy and expansion. And when that is not who we become, then something has been blocked along that way. And we need to reclaim that. It's just all about reclaiming through the blockage, reclaiming and healing and making ourselves whole again. Once we're whole, we have a way that we approach our destiny when we're whole than when we are damaged, still living, still expressing these damages. So the root chakra. So let's take a look. So root chakra is, so the chakras are like spinning wheels, and so it's like a spinning wheel. It's like an open flowered an open lotus, and it spins. And there are unlike, as people may or may not be aware, but there are two layers of spinning wheels of light. So it's not just one wheel that just kind of spins around in one direction. It's not a wheel that, as the Ida and Pingala, as the two serpent energies move up, they don't spin, one spins this way and the other spins that way. That isn't how they work. Inside of every chakra is one that's spinning, and another one that is also spinning. And this is physics, because in physics, because of the movement of the way these two move together, they are creating, they are generating a field, they are generating a magnetic field together. So that's how they are able to pull energy in and also to give energy out into the field around them. So in a child, as the child is developing, their physical body, their spiritual anatomy is also developing. So the chakras begin like this. They don't have fully wide open petals, and they are not spinning. So they have little buds, just like flowers have little buds. They have little buds, and the buds can slightly open and close. And the older they get, the more they open. And the because there's not a spin, a child's chakras are designed to draw energy in. And this is one reason that children are so malleable. Children are drawing energy into them all the time. So everything that happens in their environment is being drawn in. They're not able to, those chakras are not expanded enough to be able to give energy back into the world, but those energy, they're drawing things in. And whatever circumstance we have allowed that baby into, whatever circumstance you were brought into when you were a child, that's the circumstance. That is that's the soil that your flower was beginning to develop in. So if you had a happy, harmonious household with people who knew how to resolve conflicts when they came up, with people who had gratitude, with people who experienced joy, if that was your upbringing and you were brought up to me to feel safe and that your needs were important, then your chakra would go from this bud state to this opening and closing state to actually fully growing and opening up, and then actually beginning to spin. And then as you develop as an adult, as a full adult with these spinning chakras, when you start working on your spiritual mastery, for example, doing yoga, meditation, doing serpent power yoga, things like that, Wadjet yoga, the chakras are able to grow and expand even more. So they can actually develop a faster spin, and they can become bigger. So the chakras in a baby are about maybe 2 to 3 inches wide, maybe about 2 inches, less than 3 inches. And then in a fully grown adult, it's 6 to 7 inches in one circle. And then somebody who's been doing spiritual development, the chakras can be as big as 3 feet. They can be as big as 18 inches to 3 feet in diameter. So they can be massive. So that means that they extend far out away from the body, and the circles are spinning in a huge way. And so people who have ever experienced being in the presence of like a spiritual master, some kind of like a yogi who's been, meditating for years, that they can feel the energy. And somebody who is slightly developed, even, you can feel an energy. Sometimes if you can walk into a store and someone can say, wow, your energy just feels so good. For your energy to feel that good to them, even if you're not doing anything, you're not saying anything, what's happening is they're in their energy field, the toroidal field around them, their aura, is experiencing the movement of your chakras and feeling the alignment of your chakras. So it can feel good to somebody to have that next to them. So baby, we're back to baby. Baby is here. The root is starting to slowly bloom and blossom. This is starting to open up, and it's drawing energy from its surroundings, drawing energy from the environment. And now let's say that this baby didn't come out with those perfect circumstances, the perfect happy love, joy that we all hope and wish for and would love to have. Let's say that wasn't the baby's experience. Let's say the mom and dad spent the entire pregnancy arguing. So this baby is born, and the stress hormones of mother are there. So the baby is drawing down into their root and into their heart, which is the one feeding all of the chakras, because that is the strongest one at that point. So it's drawing down these stress hormones, drawing down energy sensations of fear, of anger, of disappointment, and things like that. They're drawing that energy, and so that's energy being pulled in. So the chakra, as it's developing, is drinking in these particular frequencies. So they're becoming locked into this space. So this root is being built with fear, shame, disappointment, things like that. And then let's say it happens later on. Let's say this child has a negative experience during potty training. Their caretaker is continually telling them how stupid oh, you're so stupid. Why do you keep having accidents? And this child might be in the second or say third or even fourth year of their development while they're going through this. But all the chakras, these are still in their stages of development. So the root chakra during those first 7 years, the root chakra is going to feel shame, guilt. So shame and guilt are serious, serious root chakra damagers. Those are like you can just lock a root chakra down when it becomes full of all these negative emotions. In order to preserve the body, in order to preserve the spirit, the chakra will just block. It will just close, and the blockage is actually a prevention method. The life force is still trying to save the person. If all you ever receive is damage, if you keep putting your hands out and all you keep getting is a slap, eventually you're going to pull your hands away. You're going to close your hands. So that's what's happening with the chakra. In order to save the chakra from consistent and continual damage to where it's actually spinning in a way that is so misaligned with the person and their being, it just closes so that way no more negativity can come inside of it. So once this root chakra, so let's say it's still in bud form, and now this root chakra is blocked, trying to go from this to this is a really difficult process. It is not impossible, and it should still be done regardless, but it is a difficult process. We cannot, it doesn't necessarily, and difficult doesn't mean necessarily that it takes a long time. It can, with the Kundalini, Wadjet, serpent power, whichever word you like to call it, energy, it can be sudden. There can be a sudden breaking open of this, but sometimes, so if a person has healthy spinning wheels, they have a healthy spinning root that has had a chance to develop, it has opened all the way up, and it has begun to spin. If at this point somebody goes through serpent power awakening and the serpent power is moving through a root chakra that is moving like this, that is an entirely different experience of serpent power awakening than when a person whose root chakra has been locked in their childhood to prevent any kind of further damage. When this is locked and blocked, and then the serpent power has to move through this is a difficult experience for many people to go from here to where, because serpent power, once it has awakened, serpent power will push and push and push. Serpent power is an act of completion. It's going to complete its cycle. So it's going to push your blocks and push them and break them open, and your chakras things might collapse back on themselves because they've been so used to being closed, and so your behavior, when people experience, serpent power, when they talk about like Kundalini rising and having, damaging things happen to them, these are symptoms of the serpent power rising through damaged and blocked chakras. So what we want to do is actually open the chakras to try to get them prepared, to try to get them ready. So the serpent power will open them. We can all use that method, but that is a definitely much more difficult method than I recommend. As somebody who has been actively working with serpent power for close to 40 years now, I do not recommend just using serpent power to bust open all your chakras and to just drive yourself into some kind of massive, spiritual alchemy, spiritual mastery. Like it is a painful process to do it that way. It is much more gentle with yourself and with the flow of life force energy to give time and attention to each area of your being, to open up each center and to connect and know and feel each one, to open each one to know what state it's in. So if you're here, there are some things we can do. And so I'm going to speak about that. I've got another video. If anybody is interested, I have a Patreon. It's Patreon/Temple of the Green Goddess. And over there, I have videos about how to unblock chakras, how to, if they're spinning out of alignment, how to put them back into alignment, and all of these different things that you can use, all different tools. You know, we all hear about the crystals and different things like that. There are many, many more tools. And just using serpent power, using yoga itself is one of the best tools that you can use, because it's using your body to heal your body. Is very, very powerful. So join me over on Patreon if you're interested in that. And so plenty more videos over there going over each and every single chakra. And as we go through this whole series and this whole spiritual anatomy series, there'll be more and more articles and more of those coming. So back on our chakra journey here. So if the root is blocked like this, so the root is blocked, and so this is going to need to open up. So this blocked root is going to show itself. It's going to show up, because we say, well, how do I know if my root chakra is blocked? These are the ways to know. So in your adulthood, if you struggle to make money, if money does not come to you easily, like no matter what you do, you just cannot seem to hold on to a dollar. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you're struggling, if you can't stick to a budget, you have money problems. And there are different levels of having money problems. Sometimes you get the money, but then you just cannot help yourself but to spend it all. Some people want to go gambling, and some people shopping, but if you're able to get money but you can't hold on to it, that's a root chakra problem. If you're trying to get money and you just cannot seem to get enough, every month the rent is late, every month the bills are late, that's a root chakra problem. Those are root chakra issues expressing themselves into your life. If you feel nervous about speaking up to somebody, and you would rather, and when people ask you, hey, how are you doing? And you're like, oh, good, fine, good. And you're always good and you're always fine. And you never have any real depth of who you are. If you never feel safe expressing, or it never occurs to you to express to people how you actually are, and you're always just good, no matter who asks you, no matter what's going on in your world, and you're always just that same old good, that is a blocked root chakra. You don't have the safety and the comfort and the development of freedom of expression. And yes, expression is throat, but the sense of identity, of not knowing how are you. Sometimes we don't check in with ourselves. People with blocked root chakras have not grown in an environment. Their root chakras have not grown in an environment where they have learned to self-reflect. Root is your identity. If nobody is checking in on you, hey, how are you? Hey, kid, how you doing? And nobody's really concerned. Hey, you got food? You got a roof over your head? You go do your homework. And nobody's really actually concerned about how you are. You're not being taught to check in with yourself either. So if you become an adult and then people are like, hey, how you doing? And you're just good all the time, that's a blocked root chakra, because our ability to self-reflect and check in with ourselves is part of our root. That's a healed root. It takes a healed root to be able to look inside, and especially to be able to look inside with honesty and say, hey, this is me. Even the ability to look at ourselves, to laugh at ourselves, to look inside and be like, oh man, I'm going through this right now. Hey, that's, it's life. When our root chakra is blocked or misaligned, we can fear how other people see us. So we can put up fronts and hide who we really are. It's hiding that expression. There are other chakras that are blocked that also have to be blocked for that to be fully activated, where we're trying to hide who we are. But it stems first from the root. If we don't feel safe, if we don't feel comfortable, if we feel confused about who we are we like, if we have racial identity confusion, if we have even gender identity confusion, if we have like family identity confusion, if we don't have a sense of belonging, if we don't have a sense of belonging inside our body, if we don't have a sense of belonging in the world around us and the family we have, those are blocked root issues. And so those things, that sense of not belonging is always something, there's something in the root that needs to be healed and made whole again in order for us to accept whatever it is we have. And other other issues that go with that. Oh goodness! Oh, we're almost at the end of our time. Um, the other issues that come through are the ability to make close connections. For me, and I had a very 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 trying childhood, and when I was 4 years old, my parents divorced, and it was a very negative divorce. Um, my mother left. I remember the day that we parted ways with my father, and I was a daddy's girl, so I was absolutely hugely attached to my father. Totally adored him and thought he was the amazing Superman of everything. Um, and he did some things that my mother did not appreciate. And so she up one day and took us and we left. And I remember her taking his clothes and throwing his clothes over the balcony. I was 4 at the time. I remember watching it. I remember the rider truck packing up out at our apartment. He was away for the weekend, and she packed up and we left. And she left him with one chair, no clothes, and an empty apartment, and we left. And I remember standing in the empty apartment just thinking, like, what is happening? Like, what is our life? Where's my daddy? What's going on? And we left and moved to a new place. We moved to a new town. And there were other issues along the way with that, because having being changed from a two income family to a one income family, it our financial status changed, and I couldn't get all the toys I wanted like I used to, and my daddy would spoil me and get me whatever I wanted. And so I didn't have that anymore. So I didn't have my daddy. I didn't have my things that my daddy would give me. Um, there were certain things that my dad let me do, and you guys, I'm sure all moms and dads there's always one parent who will let you do something and the other parent won't. But things like, I used to love to jump on the bed. I used to love bouncing on the bed, and my daddy would let me jump on the bed, but mom was like, no, I'm not playing that. We're not getting new mattresses every time just because you feel like playing. And she's much more practical. So she didn't let me jump on the bed. So it's like all these things. So you have to relearn, you have to readjust to life, um, in with that. So like I had to readjust to that. That was my family situation. So our money situation changed. I had lost my dad, so I was grieving the loss of my father. And then when I would ask questions about him, where is he, and is he coming back, or what's happening, my mother, of course, as an adult, once we get into adulthood, a lot of these things our parents say and do, make sense. But when you're a child and you're just experiencing the world as it's happening, it doesn't make sense. And so I would ask where he was, and she would get angry at me and not want to talk about it. And so my need to know where my dad was a need that did not get met. And so I learned how to suppress the need and squash it down, because I saw how it made my mom angry or disappointed. So I was learning through my development, learning how to police myself and not to say things that would upset my mom, because especially if I upset mom, then that affected how I was treated, and so in making sure that you're for your own safety, making sure that you're treated the way that you feel safe being treated. You learn, oh, okay, if I say this person's going to go off, or I'm going to get a spanking, or things like that. And so you learn how to suppress your own needs in favor of pleasing the people who are your caretakers. Those are very damaging and blocking root chakra issues. So after a few years of living this way, my mother fell very ill, and she went into the hospital. My mother actually got breast cancer when she was 28. She fought it, for years, for 4 years, and she passed away when she was 32. So the year that she was very sick and that she was in a hospital, she was in a hospital in another state from where we had moved to, and uh, while she was in the hospital, I was just sent to live with a colleague of hers and her family. And I didn't know any of the names. I didn't even know the colleague's name. So I was scared to ask anybody's name, because I thought, oh, well, I'm supposed to know their name. So if I ask, I might get in trouble. So I didn't know the mom's name. I didn't know the dad's name. And the sister was in my class in school. I was in third grade. And the sister, and there were two older brothers in the house. And while I was staying with them, one of the older brothers was sexually assaulting me. So I spent half of my third grade just being sexually assaulted. And I didn't have, my dad was gone. My mother was in the hospital, being very, very ill, terminally ill. And so there wasn't anybody to turn to during these situations. So then at the end of, maybe about 6 or 8 months time, my mother passed away. So it was like back to back to back. So this was still over a 4-year span. So it was 4 years from the time that we left my father in that apartment, in that home. And 4 years later, my mother passed away. So during that time was, of course, there were some good times, happy times, but there were a lot of like very, very traumatic things, which can be considered back to back, because from 4 to 8 years old, that's a lot of incidents. Sexual abuse, uh, moving, loss of a parent, and death of a parent is a lot to handle in a 4-year space for a young child. And so all of these were happening during, if we go to anatomy, these things were happening and taking place during the stages. So my chakra, my root chakra, was not even fully opened yet, not even fully open, and definitely not spinning. So it was locked into this place, and it was frozen there, and it was damaged. And so my root chakra blocked. And as I grew, and so because the root chakra is blocked, that means that this life force that normally flows up there and flows around in a cycle around the body was not flowing around in a cycle around the body. So my root chakra, and then at that point my sacral chakra, had both been severely damaged, and it caused issues that plagued me through all of my early, my young adulthood, and through my 30s. It was very difficult, because until you really, and I was working on healing. That's for me, from a person who is self-aware and who is actively working on healing. It was very, very difficult because these things are buried so deeply buried in the actual, in your spirit matter, in your spirit, to reshape your behavior based on the person you become once you are healed. And that is a process. It is a difficult. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of diligence, a lot of self-compassion. And a lot of times, when people are the most damaged, those are the the very three qualities they lack. If your root chakra is blocked, your sense of trust, your trust in the process, your trust in the universe, your trust in yourself, your trust in the people around you, your trust that everything's going to be okay. Your trust is locked in here. If this is blocked, you cannot trust when this is blocked or when it's broken, damaged. So one of the actual tools that you need in order to heal, which is to trust the process of your healing, that isn't even available to you. So it's like it makes things a lot harder. But yeah, so needless to say, so I expressed into my adulthood this particular root chakra, and I have stories about all the chakras at this point. I had a very interesting life, like I said, and so yeah, as we go through each chakra, I'll share something, of my own personal, and I would love to hear from others. I would love to hear about what your chakra experience has been, about your root, about your any chakra that you have an awareness of a connection between the damage that you experienced in that chakra and your healing process, or your behavior as you're going through that. So for me, going into my adulthood, it was impossible to trust life, to trust the people around me. And I thought I did. I was like extremely trusting, but I would just walk into any situation, because your sense of boundaries is damaged. Your sense of self. I didn't have a sense of self. I came out with a sense of believing that I was, I wasn't. I had no value. Nobody loved me enough to stay with me, to stay alive for me, to find me, claim me, be with me. Um, you know, we went through a cycle of poverty with my mother after we left my father. So I experienced lack. All of these things got woven in. And then later, when it was time for me to be responsible for my own decisions in life, my decisions were based off of this blocked root chakra that I didn't know that I had. And I was making decisions based on fear and based on longing and loneliness. And decisions that are made based on those kind of things, decisions that are made based on any type of lack always lead to more lack. Decisions that are based on love always lead to situations of more love. There is only two things: there's lack and fear, which are two sides of the same coin, and there's love on the other side. And we spend our life as a journey moving from lack and fear into love, in every area of our lives, and often going in winding cycles. And we think we've completed a cycle, and we can circle back around, and life hits us and puts the trigger in front of us again. And we're like, oh, it's, hey, here it is again, keep working on that lesson. And so the lessons of my root, I had to, from scratch, develop this sense of identity. Who am I? Do I have value? Do I matter to anybody? By the time I left, when I was 16, I attempted suicide. I have actually attempted suicide several times in my life. And at that first time, I was genuinely with the belief that I did not have enough human value to even continue being here on this planet. Like to when you think of the amazing amount of synchrony that had to happen, that had to take place for you to exist on planet Earth, all that amazing synchrony, and for you to arrive on planet Earth for this amazing, incredible blessing, and to squander that by not thinking that you're supposed to be here. If we really thought about that, it's mind-boggling. And so we owe it to ourselves to understand, to fully connect, to fully be with ourselves, with that joy, to go back to whatever it is that brings joy. And that always circles back down to where did the issues go wrong? When did things stop being joy? When did things stop being love? When did when did things become a haunted house? Okay, I don't know what that was. So we owe it to ourselves to circle around, to get back in tune, to find where the issue happened. The answer is never our own destruction. The answer is never a slow, poisonous death from having a life filled with bad choices that lead to our accidental and slow death that we do. Well, it's just how it went, and it's not my fault. And or to an intentional death, to a quick, forceful, intentional death. Like, that's everybody who is here on Earth is here for a reason. There is a deep and powerful and important reason why you're here. So if you're suffering from depression, that is damage in your root chakra. If you're suffering from deep anxiety and a sense of not being good enough, that's some damage in your root chakra. If you continually try and try and try to manifest the reality that you want, and it just keeps eluding you and slipping past you, and you just cannot seem to get a grip on it and make it happen for yourself, those are all root chakra issues. They all deserve to be looked at. They all deserve a moment. And so give yourself that. Give yourself that. As a person who came back from an unbelievable amount of damage and just kept trying, I arrived to a life of joy and a sense of wholeness, from a place of so much brokenness. This episode isn't long enough for me to even explain all of the levels of damage that I experienced, but there is so much wholeness when you have the courage to break through and cleanse these things out, to cleanse them out, and then also to have an anchor of knowing what a healthy, what does health look like? What does mental health, what is mentally healthy? What is physically healthy? What is relationship healthy? What is financially healthy? What do these things look like? And understanding our spiritual anatomy again is is a way of us being clear about exactly where are we headed? What is the target? You know, people think, oh, serpent power, yoga, oh, yoga is stretchy. I don't care if I can put my legs behind my head. Real yoga is yoga is actually like stretching, and the physical postures of yoga are one aspect of yoga. There are actually 8 limbs of yoga. Yoga includes study, yoga includes devotion, yoga includes chanting and frequencies, yoga includes things like marriage and having children. Like those are those are the strongest, sometimes the strongest yoga you will ever get is having a baby or getting married, and having to continually work through and grow through everything that happens to you in your life, in your reality, and coming back consistently to that same place, coming back to center, no matter how much the waves flow up and down, how much you get knocked on your behind, coming back to center and feeling your sense of self is that's what this work is. Yoga is not just about being able to touch your toes or pull your hamstrings. No, it is about getting yourself so fully empowered that you move and live and breathe with a sense of joy, a sense of self, a sense of gratitude, of believing that your life is like the best stuff ever. Just and it in it's a, there's an ebb and flow every single second. It's not going to feel like the best life ever, but if you arrive at a place where you can feel from inside you, where the things that are happening on the outside of you, the things that happen, they happen. Life happens. Life will continue to happen. Life keeps lifing. If you keep responding to it as though it's supposed to be this or supposed to be that, that's also a sign of blockage and misalignment. Life is going to be life, but if you come from in here inside yourself with a sense of joy, a sense of connection, a sense of value, you move through your life feeling as though you belong, and so everything that happens becomes part of the experience that you go through. It's a beautiful part of the experience. And so sometimes you can get to the place where even the bad experiences just feel like a beautiful part of your human experience, because nothing hurts that deeply anymore. When you're filled and whole, nothing hurts that deeply. Even when we lose people, when we understand the process of life and death and connection and completion and wholeness and infinity, even the loss, of course it'll hurt, but even loss doesn't hurt as deeply when we understand the process, when we understand the cycle, when we feel whole from within, when we feel damaged and broken and blocked from within and are looking to things outside of us to heal us and hold us and contain us. Then we're empty all the time. We walk around with these lives that are empty, looking for temporary things to fill them up with. That one is a huge root chakra issue. If you walk around in life filling yourself with drugs, filling yourself with alcohol, filling yourself with weed, filling yourself with company, phone call, text messages, constant Instagram posts, Twitter messages, if you need to continually fill yourself with things from outside of you, and as soon as they pause and as soon as there's silence, you feel empty again, that emptiness is telling you that there is something inside your root that is crying out for healing. So we are going to leave it on that note. I am Fly Priestess. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you, sis. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you all. And please feel free to connect with me on Patreon/Temple of the Green Goddess. That's my temple space where you can find me. I am based in Miami, Florida. For anybody who is close, hit me up. Send me a message in the comments or anything, or send me a message on Patreon. But that's it for today. And next week we will be here talking about the sacral chakra, sacral chakra, and with some more stories about what that looks like. What we're going to talk next week about what the sacral chakra does, its spiritual location, what it's connected to, and things like that. And we'll cover all the, those like the spirit books when they write down, oh, this is a book about chakras, da da da, here it is. We'll cover that. And then the week after, we'll talk about what it looks like in real time, real flow. What is the sacral chakra? Because there are a lot of misunderstanding. People think, oh, sacral chakra is sex. No, nope, nope, nope. There's a whole lot more depth to the sacral chakra than sex. In fact, sex is the one of the very least of the sacral chakra's functions. So that's it for now, and I love you all. Mwah. I wish you a magical, happy, empowered evening, and I will see you next Sunday. Thanks for being here. Please don't forget to like this video. Please share it with other people who you think might benefit from hearing it, and please subscribe to my page so that you can get notified whenever the new podcasts. The podcasts are every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So please join me and you'll get notifications just in case you miss it, and you'll be able to hear. These podcasts are also on Spotify, Audible, iTunes, Apple, everywhere that podcasts can go. This podcast is available everywhere. So just in case you don't happen to be tuning into YouTube, you can find them there. Have an amazing, beautiful rest of your day or night. Lots of love.